Hi, this is Dr. Gary. Welcome to our weekly tune-up. How are you doing? I've got a lot of emails from a lot of you, and many of you are concerned about some things that are interesting to be concerned about. I'm finding there's a lot of kind of fears out there. We've been talking about a lot of different kinds of fears, and during these tune-ups, I've been getting a lot of emails because as we search and as we take a look at what the greatest hits are as far as people interested in subject matter and what they are watching that I put out there, it's all usually about the fear stuff. So we're going to concentrate a lot about fear because fear seems to be in all of our lives no matter what we do. And fear is an interesting commodity because the interesting thing about fear is it really doesn't exist. It's about how we think of things. And you find some people are afraid of some things and other people aren't afraid of those things. Darkness, for example. Some people relish when it gets dark outside. They have fun. They think it's cool. Other people are terrified to walk down a street when the lights are out, not knowing what's going to happen. Same street, light, dark, people afraid, somebody isn't. What causes that? It's really a formulation of our belief system. As I said many times, we have a thing called a complex equivalency, and that complex equivalency is something that is within each one of us. It's built upon our beliefs, our ability to think, our teachers, our parents, the things they said. It's all stored inside of our mind. And based on what those people said and what we've learned earlier on in our life, that becomes a complex equivalency of our belief system. And our belief system is what formulates our ability to do or not do certain things. So when it comes to being afraid of the dark, for example, many times in your complex equivalency, if you're one of those people that are afraid of the dark, what's happened is many people have said things that would create fear in you about the dark. Other people that aren't afraid of the dark probably never got that same kind of information, so they're a little more courageous when it comes to going out at night. There's many kinds of fears going on right now. Fears of conspiracy, that idea of somebody's doing something to you, but you just quite don't know what it is. There's also the fear of relationships and intimacy. We hear that all the time. And then how about this one? This one sounds kind of stupid, but it's really true. The fear of success. A lot of people see success as something that takes a huge amount of responsibility, a lot of work. So if you have a thing about not wanting to be responsible, it's probably going to keep you from being successful, whether it's financially or even in a relationship. So in these few moments we have each week, I've been talking about a lot of these kinds of fears. Today, I want you to focus on your fear. What are you really afraid of? And then ask yourself this question. Because sometimes fears can be just a simple phobia, and phobias are pretty simple to get rid of. Fears are founded in reality, so there is a difference. Fear of snakes, sometimes people are just afraid of snakes because they're ugly, or they don't have any legs, and they're not furry, and they're not cuddly. Other people are afraid of snakes because they've been bit by one. So think about your fears. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of public speaking? What is that all about? We're always speaking in public whether we realize it or not. If you have more than 2 people standing there watching you talk, you're speaking publicly. However, there's always a criteria to how many people is too many before you become afraid. I want you to think about your fears today. Think about, is there really common sense behind it? Did something really happen that makes you afraid? Or is it just something that somebody said or some information you read in a magazine or a newspaper? Or maybe it's just a fantasy you've had about thinking about something happening, such as drowning or being in a plane wreck. All of these fears are formulated around our thought process. And if you want to get rid of a fear, one of the first things you can do is ask yourself this simple question. Is it in the future where you're afraid? Or has it already happened? If it's already happened and it creates fear today about it, then there are processes, especially using neurolinguistic programming called NLP, that can get rid of those things. And I can help you. I can even probably help you on the phone. If it's in the future, that means it really hasn't happened yet, or it isn't happening. You're just projecting that. And that projected fear is also easy to get rid of. Because if you bring yourself back into this moment right here, right now, and ask yourself this question, what can I do right now to change it? You're going to find things that you can do in order to start steering your way away from that catastrophe that you're fantasizing about. Always remember, fear does not exist. It is a thought process. And if you can first understand that, even though you may feel it or you may be afraid of it, more people are afraid of the feeling of fear than actually what they're fearing. And that also can create an adrenaline rush, which creates an anxiety attack, and it's all self-inflicted. Realizing that most of the things you worry about will never happen anyway, if you can just understand that, most of the things we worry about don't ever happen. In fact, the opposite happens. It usually turns out better than we thought it would. I want you to think about, if you're going to be negative about something, also think about what would happen if it did work. Start balancing your thinking process using that kind of thinking, rather than just drilling yourself down into a fearful place. It's not going to do you any good anyway, and it doesn't exist anyway. And even if you do have a founded fear, something happened to you a long time ago, you can also change that, because that's also a thinking thing. I suggest that you either get with a professional and work on that, or I can help you. Because those old fears aren't happening today. Always remember this and tell yourself this: I survived it, which means you prevailed anyway. Whether it was scary or not, you still made it. So a lot of the trauma that's created by old fears or old experiences really are nonsense too, because you survived it. However, we are so imprinted by the experience of it, we forget that we made it. Let's think about those kinds of fears and reflect on your own, and then ask yourself this question: what's it doing for you today? And what can you do today to change that? Many times it's working with someone that can help work you through it. We have a 5-minute phobia cure that's pretty amazing. Also, if you just start really planting yourself in this moment right here, right now, this is where you can affect change both inside and outside of yourself. This moment right here, right now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, right now. And ask yourself, right now, what's the absolute worst that's happening to me? And usually it's nothing, because you're in this moment right now thinking. And if you're thinking, you got a shot at fixing things. Think about those things. I'm wishing all of you an extraordinary week this week. I appreciate your support on these tune-ups. Send this on to someone if you think it can help them. And subscribe someone if you think it can help them. And until next week, this is Dr. Gary wishing you a great, fear-free week. Bye-bye.